sprinkles, Santa Claus's special elf. Because everything is special with sprinkles. Santa Claus knows you're special too, and he has something to say to you. So listen close as Santa Claus shares holiday cheer with you. You can leave a special message for Santa Claus and get on the nice list at www.santaclaussays.net. Now here is the big man himself, Santa Claus!
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas! Good cheer to one and all. Children of all ages, Santa Claus Says here from SantaClausSays.net. Wishing you a Merry Christmas. We are just a couple of weeks away from Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of you good boys and good girls of every age. Remember to leave me some hot cocoa and cookies, and I will love to see you. Now, here at SantaClausSays.net, we love to listen to what you have to say about what you would like for Christmas, your Christmas wishes, and about the good things you do. After all, Santa Claus says to be good for goodness sake, and I love to hear what you have done to be good to other people. So please go to SantaClausSays.net, and there on that website, you can see a button that says to get onto Santa's list, and that was the way we can email back and forth. You can tell me your wishes and the good things you've done. There's another button that says to talk to Santa, and that's where you can leave Santa a voicemail or a text, a chat, and I'll get those and I return those, and you'll hear from me, and maybe, just maybe, you can hear your voice or your text or your letter here on SantaClausSays.net, on YouTube, and on the podcast, because this is where we like to also read a letter. We like to tell a story, have a joke, and to read a letter from one of the good boys and good girls out there. Well, that's our sign now for our, that's our tone, our chimes, which means it's time for our story. And we have a very special story because we are just a couple weeks away from Christmas, from the 12 days of Christmas. And so our story today we're going to start reading is called A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And it's going to go through several parts today and in the next several days. So if you hear this part, please listen to the next several days of the podcast and on the YouTube channel, and you'll hear the rest of the story. It's called A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. We'll read a part of it here today. Marley's Ghost. Marley was dead to begin with. There was no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was dead as a doornail. Mind, I don't mean to say I don't know of my own knowledge what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I might have been inclined myself to regard a coffin nail as the deadliest piece of ironmongery in the trade. But the wisdom of our ancestors is in this simile, and my unhallowed hand shall not disturb it, or the country's done for. You will therefore permit me to repeat emphatically that Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend, his sole mourner, and even Scrooge was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event that he was an excellent man of business on the very day of the funeral, and solemnized it with an undoubted bargain. The mention of Marley's funeral brings me back to the point I started from. There's no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I'm going to relate. If we were not perfectly convinced that Hamlet's father died before the play began, there would be nothing more remarkable in his taking of a stroll at night, in an easterly wind, upon his own ramparts, than there would be of any other middle-aged gentleman rashly turning out after dark in a breezy spot, say St. Paul's churchyard, for instance, literally to astonish his son's weak mind. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood years afterwards above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to this business called it Scrooge, and sometimes Marley. But he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted man of the grindstone. Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scrapping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire, secret as self-contained and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his lips thin blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head and on his eyebrows of his right chin. He carried out his low temperature always about him. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas. External heat and cold had little influence on Scrooge. No warmth could warm, no wintry weather chill him. No wind that blew was bitterer than he. No falling snow more intent upon its purpose. No pelting rain less open to entreaty. Foul weather didn't know where to have him. The heaviest rain, snow, and hail and sleet could boast of an advantage over him in only one respect. They often came down handsomely. And Scrooge never did. I'm going to leave the story right there, everybody. Yeah, boys and girls, it's a great story to read before Christmas. We're going to read the whole story over the next several days here on Santa Claus Says.net. So stay tuned to the Christmas story by Charles Dickens, read by me, Santa Claus. Now, it's time for our joke and to have some fun here. And our joke for the day is this. Who delivers Christmas presents to cats and dogs? Who delivers Christmas presents to cats and dogs? Santa Paws. Oh my goodness. Santa Paws. That's a good one there. I think Sprinkles likes that one too. Sprinkles and her dog Snowball. Well, there is the tone. There is our chimes, which means it's also time for our letter to Santa. Before we have our letter to Santa, just a reminder that you can write me and you can give me a voicemail. You just go over to SantaClausSays.net. You can get on Santa's nice list there and click a button, get on my nice list. Then there's also a button there to click to be on to send Santa a voicemail, or to send me a chat or text, and I will respond to those. And if I get some letters, and some voicemails in, we'll share them right here on SantaClausSays.net. And just like this letter we get today from little Johnny from Texas, and he just simply said, "Dear Santa, my dog is sorry he barked at your reindeer." Well, that's certainly all right. We get through that because we come to everybody's house on Christmas Eve, just a couple weeks from now. And so be ready. Your dogs will be okay. Your cats will be okay. And you'll be okay as long as you're asleep when I get there. But don't forget to leave out the hot cocoa and cookies, because that is what Santa Claus loves. Santa Claus loves you. Get ready for Christmas. And remember, Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. Now, Santa Claus needs to go get ready to make the toys and get everything ready to go. And I need to find Sprinkles, and we need to have our time together. So see you soon. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
You're special to Santa Claus, just like Sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says live on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles